Hello, Facebook. What's going on, guys? Here we are in Tuesday night, if that's the night you're actually watching this. I want to practice my getting to the point, GTFP, and my brevity. So here it goes. Thank you, sweetheart. So if you're watching this live, type down there hashtag live. And of course, please do me a favor and hit those like buttons and flick the love button and just smash like the Hulk that like button. Let me know you're here. Leave some comments for me. So anyway, tonight, real quick, want to drop some knowledge on you the best that I can. So here it goes. Let's say you are interested in investing in real estate and you're trying to get as much free information as you can without getting educated, without using the professional advice of a mentor, someone who is already doing it, someone like I'm working with, a guy like, I don't know, Dave Jaquish, Bill Predabon. These guys have hundreds of deals under their belts. They're doing buy and hold. Someone like Dr. Gary Lawrence, who has a freaking radio show, who's helping me out a lot. You know, people like this, people who are actually doing it versus going to one of those seminars where you're hearing from a sales guy or a sales girl. You know, so here's what we do. First rule, first foremost, this is like the baseline thing. Start your own business. Get properties out of your personal name and into a business name. First and foremost. It doesn't take much. In Arizona, you just fill out the paperwork. You go to irs.gov, set up, and then the Corporation Commission, and get that set up. It's under $100 for crying out loud. You know, it's not. So here's what you do. There's a couple different things that you can do with this. You can do a sole proprietor, which basically you raise your hand and say, hey, I'm a business owner. And that's it. Now, the challenge with that is, can anybody tell me what the challenge with being just a sole proprietor is, class? Why, yes. You will have to pay, let's hear it, self-employment tax. Blech. Nobody likes tax, period. But we don't want to pay self-employment tax because that is freaking 15%. What? No, ain't got time for that. So, what you would do is create an S corp for your tax reasons, right? So you avoid paying that 15% self-employment tax, and then you can take a draw. Now, what's the challenge with having an S corp? Well, the challenge with that is you need to make enough money to justify having an S corp because there are certain fees involved to maintain that S corp and to set it up. And so, I believe in Arizona it's around $30,000. So you want to make sure you're earning enough money to have an S corp to take advantage of those tax benefits that deal with taxes and income. Then there's also a thing related to that, which is ordinary income versus passive income. So the ordinary income would be like operating costs, your short-term investments like a rehab or a fix and flip, any kind of commissions, a wholesale deal, those kind of things. And you'd run those through your S corp. Now, the long-term deals you would want to hold in an LLC. Why, class? Can anybody tell me why? No? All right, well, I don't want to leave you hanging. You want to do it for protection. You want to have a veil around you and protect your personal assets. So you would put a rental in an LLC. and you can situate your LLC with however many rentals you want. That really depends on how much risk you're willing to tolerate. Fair enough. So you might not want to have too many rentals in an LLC. You might want to have multiple LLCs and then cap it at a certain number of rental properties, or you might separate out the different classes of rentals, for example. So there's no tax benefits to an LLC. That's really for your protection. Now, a lot of people, myself included, have started off with an LLC because I want that protection, and I've not made $30,000 a year in income from the business yet. So it doesn't make sense for me to set up an S corp yet. But when I get to that point, I'm definitely going to set that up. And that's really what you want to do when you're getting started investing in real estate. Now, another thing that you might want to look into, because one of the myths that people are fearful of, and one of the things that keeps them out of investing in real estate, is they think they need a license. You don't need a real estate license to invest in real estate. All right? And then where do you find the money? Where do you find the credit? Well, you find it from other people. And there's 3 questions that you can ask to find the money from anybody. Because do you realize how much money is out there in retirement accounts, for example? Trillions. Trillions of dollars are in retirement accounts that you can access to when you know how to build rapport, build relationships, and ask the right questions. All right? So, when you have found the money, how do you work with these people? How do you form the contract between you and this other person? There's 3 ways, right? And this is the last thing I'm going to cover in tonight's talk. So you can have a lender where basically they are only lending you the money, and they get a flat percentage of return based on the amount that they lend and whatever you guys determine is fair, whatever you two agree upon. Now, I will say there's one caveat to that. You want to make sure that you're setting up a self-directed IRA, which is a third-party custodian, to manage that money. So then that way the person is actually protected, and the profits from the deal will go into that self-directed IRA, and that's how your lender will get their money in there, and it's tax deferred. I believe that's the correct term I'm using. So boom, you could also set up an HSA to buy real estate, but that's another topic for another day. The other way you could have them partner with you is they're an actual partner. So a partner would be they're lending you money, and they have a say in whatever's going on with the rehab or the flip. And then that way, they are an actual partner. They're going to have some equity stake in the deal. And lastly, they are a fellow investor. And that can be a little tricky because once they're an investor, you got to have the contract set up, and you could run into SEC rules that you have to abide by if they're a true investor. So you got to be careful with the language that you're using. And in that, let me back up. In that case, if they're a true investor, basically they're giving you the money and they have zero say in anything. And yeah, that's about it. But if something goes wrong, because they're an investor and not a lender, and the SEC rules, they could come back and sue you if something goes wrong. But again, you want to talk to a real estate attorney for that. Now, what's cool is, yes, I'm learning all of this stuff, and I am not an attorney. I'm not a CPA. I'm just using this information and I'm leveraging other people in my community who have gone through similar activities, people who've gone before me. Do you think it would make sense to learn from someone who's gone before you versus trying to read it from a book? I was talking to somebody about this earlier, actually over the weekend. They were asking, well, what book could I get to learn about real estate investing? And I asked, well, have you ever studied martial arts? And they said, well, yeah. And I already knew that because we're in different communities together. And I said, well, did you learn that from a book or a YouTube video? And he laughed at me, which is exactly what I expected him to do. He was laughing, and once he stopped laughing, he said, no, you can't learn karate and MMA from a book or a video. You got to practice it. You got to get your hands dirty. You got to get in the ring. You got to practice the punches. And, you know, like the shirt says, everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face. And I said, wow, that's interesting, because real estate investing is the exact same way. You can't learn this stuff from a book or reading an article or watching one YouTube video that lasts half an hour. No, and you definitely can't learn it from watching those HGTV shows, as entertaining as they are. You're not going to learn from watching them. They're for entertainment, not for education. So where am I going with this? Well, if this at all interests you, there is education that you can learn from. And not just one strategy, and not just a partial strategy where you have to call an 800 number and get upsold for the next piece. No. So how am I doing it when I have a full-time job, I have a family, and all these other priorities? I'm still able to do this because I'm going through a process. It's a system that takes people just like me who knew nothing about investing in real estate and goes through a process just like I went through ASU. I start with a prerequisites, build a foundation, and then those courses build upon the next courses that build upon the next courses. Then next thing you know, I'm in the core classes that teach the fundamentals, the meat and potatoes, if you will, of all aspects. So now I know how to set up my entity properly and legally, so I'm fully protected and I'm getting the maximum amount of tax benefits. Then I know what strategies to use, for example, wholesaling, which is my focus right now because I still have a full-time job and family. And so I look for opportunities where I can get a property under contract and wholesale it to someone who has a lot more time on their hands to rehab it or just flip it. And if the right opportunity came along in the right partnership, then yeah, I could potentially get into an actual full-blown deal, and the contract could state, hey, I'm bringing the deal, I'm bringing some of the money, you manage the project, and we'll split the profits at the end. That could be one potential end game, right? It's all creative. So what if there was a way to learn all of this stuff, even if you have a full-time job, and even if you have a family and other priorities? Well, there is. If you want to learn more, go to my business page, North Star Investment Properties. See some of the success stories that I post there. And you can definitely call me, reach out to me, and we can have a conversation and see if it's right for you. Because I'm totally honest right now, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I don't want to work with just anybody. I want to bring people into my world and into my life who have a prosperity mindset, an abundance mindset, people who have a can-do attitude versus someone who constantly says how they can't do something. Does that make sense? Because I'm at that point in my life where I only want to work with people that I like, and that I'm sure people only want to work with me if they like me. Does that make sense? And that's what it's about. So if you'd like to partner with me, if you'd like to learn more, check out my Facebook page, the North Star Investment Properties, and go from there. We can have a conversation. I host live events a couple times a week. One is for a pure educational overview of everything that's offered. The other one is seeing the education in action. So it's a potential deal. Let me take that back. It's not a potential deal. It's an actual deal that we share how we found it, how we funded it, what we're doing with the property, all the work that's going into it, and the potential profit. And we'll see a property through various stages. And that's a phenomenal opportunity for you to see the education in action. You get to meet me, meet my partners, hear from actual, local, active real estate investors who are actually doing the thing that you want to learn how to do, and ask all the questions that you can think of. Because we're totally transparent, we're an open book, we're not interested in selling anything to anybody. What we are interested in is helping people either augment their current income or get into a situation where they can transition out of their current income. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a get-rich slow, steady, and easy. And building generational wealth. And not just a partial tactic, but all the tactics you need to be successful if this is something that you wanted to do, and if you're a right fit to work with me. So if you think if this resonates with you, and if my style, if my personality resonates with you, then yeah, let's have a conversation. Let's meet. And then as you see what I saw and you're hearing from local active investors, and you're getting a sense if this is right for you or not, you'll know naturally what to do next. And we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But you are in the driver's seat 100% of the way. Because like I said, we're not interested in selling anything to anybody. I'm happy to help you enroll in the same education that I'm using. And, one last thing, does it work? Well, let's take the analogy of a car. Does a car work? Well, yes, it does work. We've seen hundreds of people operating cars very successfully. But the car requires some things in order for it to work. It requires an engine, which I found out a couple weeks ago. That engine needs to work. And you need to maintain that engine. So not only do you need the engine, you need the fuel for that engine, the gasoline, which in this case would be leads or deals, for example. And you need to know where to find that fuel and then use that fuel properly. And then you got to press on the gas, use a steering wheel, all these things. It requires those things in order for it to work. So does real estate investing work? Yes. It's the oldest profession, even older than the oldest, that next older profession. It's been around forever. And it's the one thing that stands the true test of time. It is the one industry that has made more millionaires than any other industry. So, if you like where you're at, fantastic. Keep on doing what you want. If you'd like to be able to have a few more options, this might be something to look deeper in. I don't know, it's up to you. But anyway, I gotta go. I'm gonna be taking my son to his guitar lesson tonight. And with that, have an amazing evening and stay spicy.